Oh, I just noticed that StreamYard changed the little tune that's on that 30
It's a
second
different
countdown.
vibe. It's a
I
different
like it.
vibe
I
now.
was just in there going, yeah,
Like,
all
it
right.
kind of gives me what is the like, have you seen the like memes that are like the elevator tune where it's like people dancing to the elevator tune memes on YouTube
Yeah.
Shorts?
I have not seen those, but I
You
mean,
can
I
vision
think
it now.
we could, yeah, I think I have just throwing ideas out there. Maybe we just do like an hour of repeating that every 30 seconds. All right. All right. Well, thanks to those folks who are joining us on this kind of surprise episode of DevRelish, because scheduling is hard, because DevRels have to travel. Well, particularly Erin has to travel a lot, but that's kind of comes with the territory of being in DevRel, which I assume folks in the audience more than likely are familiar with if you're in DevRel. So we had a lot of trouble scheduling, but we got this. We got it done very, very last minute. Then I had to reschedule because of internet issues, and now we're here. We're back again. So it's happening. It's really happening this time. So anyway, for those folks who haven't been here before, this show is about being in developer relations and all the other stuff all around it, which is thus the ish of DevRelish. My name is Brian Rinaldi. I run developer relations at a company called Local Stack. And my partner in crime here is, you can introduce yourself.
Hey all, I am Erin. I'm a senior developer experience engineer at Galileo, geeking out on the world of AI and DevRel.
All right. And today we have, as always, we have a special guest. We're going to bring Jenn to the stage. Welcome, Jenn. We're going to let Jenn introduce herself as well.
Hello, beautiful humans. I am Jenn Junod. I have done many different jobs in my career, one of which being DevRel. And currently I am a social media manager, looking for new clients, as well as working at Galileo as their social media manager contract. It's a lot of fun, and DevRel definitely helped me get to understand my current role, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I think it's not uncommon even for DevRel teams to end up owning a lot of social media anyway. So, I mean, my team owns social media at our company. So it's kind of typically some companies falls in DevRel, which is where like it's we don't. What is DevRel? It's stuff.
Exactly. It's things and stuff.
Yeah.
We could just sit here in our what is DevRel spiral?
I mean, DevRel Foundation is now a thing that we're working on. I'm one of the working group managers that we're working on figuring each of those pieces out. Now, I say that is kind of a hit or miss topic, because not all DevRel want to have something so defined, and nor is it where everyone that's in the planning groups are people. It's a very hit or miss topic. We'll just go with that.
Yeah. Well, it never comes up anywhere. Nobody's ever asking what is DevRel or how do you measure DevRel. It's just not a topic I've ever heard discussed.
No,
my parents and my friends and my husband and people outside of this industry 110% know exactly what I do, and they don't joke that I just hang out on the internet all day.
Most people, when I first meet them and I try to explain what I do, they just end up with, so you're a tech influencer? Not sure.
Yeah.
Sure. If that's what helps you understand it better, we'll say yes.
Yeah. I always just describe it as DevRel is marketing for developers who pretend they hate marketing. So that's kind of my description. Yeah. And I always say, like, why pretend? Because pretend is because that same developer will be telling you they hate marketing when they're like wearing a t-shirt for some tech company, and their laptop is covered in stickers for that tech company, and they're wearing socks from that tech company. And exactly. It's like I hate marketing. Yeah.
I've got my
we could have coordinated.
shirt.
Brian, do you have a warp shirt?
I do not have a warp shirt.
Oh,
Three.
damn.
How do I have three
Yeah.
and you have none?
I have one that I was like, if Brian had one, we could have.
We could
you
have all
know,
coordinated.
been- yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Well, Erin hasn't. Erin has a connection to warp that she could get me one, but she hasn't. She's chosen not to.
I think I got them at the same conference you were at.
Yeah, I'm having t-shirts, I have so many. That's also the it comes with the territory of being DevRel, and you go to all these conferences. I've got so many t-shirts.
I only keep the soft ones. If they're not like really soft, then I no.
Yeah, a good quality t-shirt is great. I posted what is it? A toot on Blue Sky. What are we calling Blue Skies? Skeets on Blue Sky where they squeets. One of the
I just say
worst tweet
tweets
adjacents.
still. I just say blue sky tweets.
I posted on Blue Sky the fact that I was like, hey, all tech companies, if you do, my husband and I wear the same size t-shirts because I like him a little big and he's only a few inches taller than me. So we wear the same size t-shirts. And that means that like, if you mail me a t-shirt or swag, 9 times out of 10, Joe will wear it more often than I do sometimes. And then he will go into work meetings and you are actually getting 2 influencers for the price of one if you mail us good swag, because he was sitting today. There's a company that does Tambo.ai, I believe is the company, or Tambo.io. They're a new front end one. And he's like sitting there playing with this like clicker. And he's like, this is the coolest little fidget toy ever. And then he's like wearing another dev company's t-shirt. And he's like, I have no idea what these companies do, but the design was cool and I got a fidget toy. So he's over there spreading the good word.
Let's be honest, a lot of them just make t-shirts.
Yeah. I will say, if we're talking swag, this might be controversial. I'm not a huge fan of socks.
Really? Okay, so from the standpoint of like, I actually like socks, but also I like socks as somebody who has to buy swag for the event. So we're startup, we're like only Series A, so like a lot of marketing things fall in DevRel. And so one of those is like deciding what swag we're going to bring to events, because all the event planning is us. And t-shirts, especially when you're small and you've got these smaller booths, like t-shirts are complicated. You have to bring way more than you actually need to be able to get the sizing right and stuff like that. So like, it's just super complicated. Whereas socks, I just bring, it's one size, like that's it. I bring one set, so it's really easy to kind of manage how many items I bring. Yeah, t-shirts are just a pain.
I will say, one, I do think investing in a good sticker is always worth it, because like I put them all over my notebooks, everything, but it's got to be a good one. Like my laptop, I have like got some cool vibe coding ones, some full snack devs. But I was at Seattle Startup Summit, and like probably the best swag in the entire conference, like people were fighting over the swag, was this company called Tambo, which their booth was right next to us. So I actually got to watch the swag conversations happening. They gave out the keycap fidgets and then keycap, like custom little keycaps with their logos on it.
Oh, that's
and, like,
cute.
I was like, it's currently on my keyboard because their logo is this cute little octopus guy. And I'm like, it's branded, but it's like not, like, it's not so like gross that I'm not going to put it on. And like, let's be honest. But I was also just sitting there going like, man, it all fits in like your standard keycap case, the travels. Like you're giving out 50 to 70 keycaps in one like case, which is like, I'm like, here, wait, I know I have a keycap case somewhere, but like that's big. Like that's easy to ship and mail.
It is, but I am like, no mechanical keyboard. Not gonna happen. I have to have I giggle because total Apple keyboard, it has to have the unlock and the world, so I can do emojis. I tried going without those 2 things on a different keyboard because I really wanted to be a cool kid with a mechanical keyboard. It didn't happen. but I would say my all-time favorite swag is Rubik's Cubes. And a company gave out floppy disks.
Floppy disk, but what can you do with them?
I don't know. I was thinking I'd turn it into a magnet, but it made me really happy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, these are all good ideas because I have to buy swag actually right now, and we were deciding what swag to buy. And I hadn't thought of keycaps because it's not something I typically use, but I know it's a hot thing, so that's kind of cool. I
Yeah.
like that it's fun.
The other one that I picked up is like MongoDB gave out like these little bags. And like I've been using it as a pencil case. It's like there's your swag ideas. Of swag I actually use that is sitting on my desk is stickers, keycaps, and a pencil bag.
So on
On the
moving
topic
on
of-
from the topic of swag, even though it is it is a relevant topic for sure. I'm actually more curious to hear more about the DevRel Foundation work, if you don't mind, Jen, because I've been following it. I get the emails, I subscribed. I was like, I don't know, like, you know, I don't know that I fully understand what the DevRel, what the foundation thing is all about. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it is and what the goals are, and things like that?
For sure. And I just shared it in the chat as well. Um, DevRel Foundation it's trying to make everything a bit more standardized because since we all have very different experiences of DevRel and different meanings of like what every DevRel does, like I have been a DevRel that I love focusing on community and social media where I don't like making content all that much, like having to overthink like making blogs or short videos. Like I can do it. There are things I can do, but that's where Erin can write like beautifully, very, very quickly. And that would take me like a week to what she can put in together in an hour. And since there are so many different DevRels and what type of DevRels, it's to start figuring out how are things measured? Like, what is a consensus of how are things measured? What does community mean? How do we grow community? What is the governance of it all? How do we make sure that it's very similar everywhere and has a solid definition? And that's all broken down into different groups that they call working groups. And each working group is, and I'm currently looking. Okay, cool. I found the working groups. The working groups are metrics and reporting, innovation and emerging trends, career support, structure and organization, resource aggregation, and community engagement. So each of our groups are individually setting things up, and they have a like group managers that kind of come up with the structure of how the group will work. And once that's done, then they are creating monthly meetings on having others join in and help collaborate and change things. And so we do it out as a community, not just some random people in charge making it.
And so ultimately, these things will get published on the foundation site, like once you come up, almost like your, you know, web standards proposals kind of thing, refined and ultimately kind of agreed on. And this is the final. These are metrics. This is DevRel metrics. I can't wait for that.
No, I think it's going to be more of a resource than always a definition. Like it is something that the Linux Foundation is helping us achieve this. And as many of us know, when you put one of these together, a lot of times they are guidelines, not rules.
Yeah.
And it's to help make things a little easier because even I was laid off in October and looking for a new role since then. It's very difficult because I could get a lot of interviews, but you never know how technical a role is. Like, they could say it's really technical, but then you go through the interview and they're like, just kidding. We just need you to make a bunch of videos, or we need you to manage the community. Or it's something where they're like, hey, we're looking for a community manager, but you have to be like one of the most like tier 5 level technical to be able to do it. And so what if this things are more standardized? Then I can be like, oh, this actually would be a good job fit before I apply for it and go through 3 interviews to go to the technical one and find out it's not a great fit.
So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I was actually having this conversation with someone on a live stream last night in the Twitch comments. Because on one hand, I'm like, yes, we should have this standardized. We should have this more regulated. We should have this more, organized. But on the flip side, like, there is always a double-edged sword. Like, we can want it standardized, but like, and I don't like to be the person to be like devil's advocate, but
Exactly.
But like, getting your employer and getting employers on board for that, like, right now we're already seeing jobs being laid off, and like, if they're sitting there and it takes them 3 weeks to just put a standardized job title up rather than kind of like listing the like, I almost go based on the 2 things I look at when applying for roles or when I was interviewing for my current role. Is one, I was very fortunate to be recruited for this role, but once I kind of made the decision that I was, yes, looking for a new role, I started kind of applying and seeing what else was on the market. And I actually found myself asking the questions of like, what is the reporting structure and how do you know that this role is successful? And that would guide me more to know this is a role I want to do versus this is a role that maybe isn't quite a fit. And it's very interesting because like, I did have a very strong background. I worked at Orbit. I had a very strong community background, but at this point in my career, I'm like, I very much see myself kind of almost leaning away from that type of work. Like, that's not the type of work that I want to continue doing. I feel like yes, it's always going to be part of me and always part of that history and it's a natural strength, but I'm really interested in moving more into these like very product-y DevRel type roles. And that always isn't captured in a job post because people, it's like, I'm either getting filtered out because they see the high community background, or, I mean, the other one is like when you have standards, like standards are great and terrible because there's standards that you have to have an engineering degree to be in certain roles. And I don't have that. And I've had roles reject me because of that.
Yeah.
Agreed. And so have I.
Yeah, I don't have an answer on that. That's just rants.
I do think, like, I mean, to Jen's point, it's guidelines. So you can do whatever you want as a company. But I think having, one of the things I've found is that sometimes it's hard if the people, they know they want to have, say, like a company, particularly, startups. Okay, we need a DevRel, but like, we kind of have an idea of what we want them to do, but like kind of really defining the job role before they start hiring is difficult because they've never hired this person before. They don't know exactly what they do. And so it can be, I've had startups where I came in and the founders had very unrealistic expectations of what a DevRel was capable of doing. And I think in this case, sometimes having that written out at the very least might help them, if they can find these resources, help them define the role ahead of time to come in with like, okay, this is what we'd like you to focus on. These are the things like, based on this information here, where we'd like this role to focus. Could be helpful. Whether they use that information, it's a whole other question.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So can anyone get involved? I mean, what would?
Yeah, anybody can get involved. Not all working groups have their meetings set up yet. I know our working group doesn't because we're still working on things to get to that point. But some of the other working groups already have it set up. And give me just a moment and I can link the calendar.
All right. We have very high expectations on this show, so I'm disappointed that you don't have this set up. Because as you know, we plan the show out well in advance.
We never make pitches, never tell jokes on this show. Very buttoned up, professional.
Oh, I get so AI generated DevRel job postings.
No.
I mean, okay, I will. I can see that that would is a problem. I will admit that when I posted that, like I did use that to kind of as a starting point. But I knew what the hell I was doing, which is kind of like typical, like anything AI. Sorry, Aaron, I know you work in an AI company. Well, both
I
of
want
you.
AI observability and integrity. So
So,
like
yeah,
I'm down. We can dunk on it to an
yeah, yeah,
extent because that keeps me
yeah,
employed. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
model written bro keeps me a job, my friends.
No, I was what I was gonna say is like, generally it's like, well, you got to know what the hell you're actually talking about before you use AI. Like, so I got a basic outline, and then I just kind of, okay, this is what I want. That's what I fixed it. But yeah, I think worse than AI generated DevRel job postings are AI job, like the thing, when you submit your application and they're reviewing your application using AI.
I That's the stuff that scares me is the reviewing of the app, the ATS system or whatever they call it. Like
Mhm.
I'll be the
Mhm.
first to admit, and Jen knows this. I was literally talking to Jen about this morning of like, again, I work in AI. This is not my first rodeo in the AI space. Been in the AI space. I use AI literally daily. However, it's also knowing what to use for AI. Where I think it's the same thing. Like I go back, 5 years ago with the automation thing, right? Because when like automation was the new like trend, we were automating everything. And I distinctly remember I was working at Orbit and I was trying to come up with some automated system, and I had spent like a half a day on something stupid. And one of my coworkers was like, in the time that you just spent trying to automate that process, you could have just done the process. And I was like, don't tell me this. Like, don't tell me this.
Yeah.
Because very true, but like also rude. Call me out. And I think
Great.
that's something that we're doing with AI now is like, it's just a different, like, is
Yeah.
it worth using AI or could you have just written it your own in the first place?
Yes. Yeah, to some reason, to some degree, I agree with that. I also think like that's also, I mean, it's been a meme since like swear since developers started developing that, you know, could I do I solve this problem in 5 minutes, or do I spend 3 hours trying to automate solving this problem? Like I think there's memes that have been around ages. So it's like, yeah, that's no different. We always do that. Um, so okay. Awesome. So hopefully folks in the audience will get involved in the DevRel Foundation. But I also wanted to touch on something else, Jen, that you brought up earlier, and when we were backstage, which is that you said you're very interested in talking about like mental health within, especially like as it relates to the workplace. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, what I really wanted to mention, and this is at least what I'm currently going through, and spread awareness because I think it's something that can happen to people and then they don't really know what to do with it. Of I was laid off in October. Fun story, quick story. Work sent me to Australia, to Melbourne, Australia for to give a talk, then to New Zealand to give a talk, and then back to Sydney, Australia to give a talk. And I got to Sydney and they laid me off. So I was like, hey, at least they're telling me on my trip. So I still got to go on a cool trip. But it's what I wanted to mention is in DevRel, especially for those who have to travel a lot or in creating content a lot, is it can be badgering to always have to improve and all the physical and mental strain of travel, but also when you get laid off, what to do next. I know for myself, my health really took a downturn since I've been laid off. And but I could even say it's a blessing in disguise because since I don't have full-time work, I'm able to get more contracts and be able to work around my schedule when I'm not feeling well and being able to manage everything. That it's a struggle though to deal with especially when someone in DevRel changes what they do in the career and realizing they may not be able to be what they used to be. Like, a lot of people have to stop traveling because family needs or health needs or those type of things, or don't want to be online all the time. It is a big struggle with having to make those transitions and giving yourself grace.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think we've talked about this a lot lately because right now so many folks in DevRel are laid off, and it feels like every time you think that like there's a wave of jobs maybe just around the corner, which I actually don't think it's coming this year. But like, every time it feels like maybe it's picking up a little bit, like all next thing you know, there's another round of layoffs and a bunch of people. Like we're all, I think most we're all on the DevRel collective, and people feels like on a regular basis, like, yeah, I got the layoff notice. It's kind of more almost as consistent as the job openings are the new
Mhm,
layoffs. It's kind of exhausting, especially because that there's not a lot of openings in DevRel right now. And the ones that there are, it's become very common. They require you to be in office all of a sudden, which
mhm,
is funny because for somebody like I've been in DevRel for over 15 years. I've never been in an office, and never even at companies that were entirely in office 15 years ago. It's like, yeah, but this team, it doesn't make sense. You guys travel and whatever. I mean, it's just like the teams all everywhere. It doesn't We don't need to have an office, and yet now it's like, no, you have to be DevRel in an office. I don't get
mhm,
it. But
Yeah. I've been very fortunate. Like I said, this job change that I most recently made was a job change that, you know, was one. It wasn't like I was a layoff. Two job changes prior to that were layoffs. So, but this is my first time like looking for a job or kind of going through that process. And I think, when Brian and I worked together, it would always be like sometimes when like you'd have a rough day at work. We've all had those rough days where you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna quit and like freelance for a few months. Like that, I don't think is an option as much anymore. Like if you're frustrated with your job, like it's very much like there's not like previously. I've considered that multiple times. I've actually done that before and just been like, screw this, I quit. I'm gonna go do my own thing and freelance. And again, very fortunate that it worked out. But I think now I don't know that I could say that I would recommend that to anybody. I also think like one, I have found myself, even though I'm very fortunate, again, I'm at a company they just recently raised. We're investing in DevRel, which is great. Um, Green flags all around. The flip side is like I find myself almost like reading all the other posts and out of fear, almost like, how do I make sure that I keep myself very hyper employable? Like, does that mean I'm building an online presence? Does that mean I'm investing in side projects? Does that mean I'm investing in meetups or keeping involved in my community? And it's like almost like I feel weird because it's like you're doing it almost out of a like, I gotta have this thing in my back pocket just in case. Um,
yeah,
and I don't know that I have felt that way before in my career. Like,
I've talked to people, and like the companies are pushing them too. Like they're working more hours than they've ever worked, and the demands are higher than they've ever been. I'm like, that's just I don't. I mean, I I've seen it before, never this bad. But like it never turns out well, uh, and yet we go through the cycle anyway. So I wish I had high hopes, but all we have to do is look around the past couple days. Things are
I
the world is
I
kind of
think it
burning
would
around us too.
yeah, and I feel like in a perfect world, it would be really cool to have more DevRel contracts, meaning that you get hired for a year. You know that you're gonna be steady for a year, and because I feel like that personally, to me, would feel better than getting hired full time and them just laying me off in a year, because you never know when it's gonna happen. And I feel like that is something that is so scary right now in DevRel is they're some of the first to be let go. And always having that hang over your head, like you were saying, Erin, of having to constantly put more into your own socials and your own meetups to be able to make you more valuable to rehire, uh, that we can do all of that, yet if a company makes a decision to lay off DevRel, it doesn't necessarily matter how much you put into your own personal work to
Yeah.
be still valuable to the company.
I think so. I share with you both, but like I'll put it in the chat that a post I wrote about DevRel stuff. One of the topics, kind of like it's on why we DevRel usually is among the first, but I think it's not just DevRel. I've noticed it's DevRel and marketing tend to get hit first. My kind of hypothesis on this is that you don't pay as a company an immediate price for getting rid of DevRel or marketing people, right? Like I can cut those things, and the price I pay is down the road. I pay that price, 6 months, a year later, when pipelines dried up a little bit, or our perception in the community is taking a turn, and things like that. But so eventually I pay that price, and I have to fix it. But if I cut engineering right now, oops, getting echo again. If I cut engineering, we get like we can't deliver the product on time. We're gonna lose customers. If I cut from all these different areas, we pay in a more immediate price, whereas like marketing and DevRel, it's like, okay, eventually we'll pay a price, but right now we'll be okay.
Wanna like kind of a caveat on that, like I do think you'll notice it in your product experience as well. So I think very much in my role, like one of my roles is basically seeing where people get stuck, because if you've ever gotten stuck with a tool, your first response isn't to reach out to help and support. You don't go, excuse me, let me talk to your little chat bot or your like docs page. Like, let's be honest, we're not even reading those things sometimes. Like, especially now, like with your cursors or your whatever tool you're vibe coding with these days, it's like, why isn't this working? Please fix now. Da-da-da-da-da. And it's what I actually think you'll see a lot in the product side is how relevant, like how is that feedback being given to the community team or given to everything next for your products? Yeah. Shitting on the, I guess, isn't all of X just shitting on things right now? Am I allowed to make that joke? Like,
well, I mean, yeah, X is shit, so why not?
So,
yeah, like
curious on that. Curious on that. How do you deal with the fact that, how to say this? Nobody really likes X anymore, but developers and companies are still there. So how do you deal with creating community and engagement on a platform that feels like it's going away, but yet it's still stuck there?
Okay, I'll go first because I've been off X since, I've been off Twitter since it was since Mux took over. I stopped posting. I haven't posted, so it's been over 2 years now that I haven't posted on it. It actually did affect my job search multiple times. It's like, well, it's they care about your followers on why I don't. It's even before he took over, engagement there was crap. It was not good, right? Like now it's garbage. I mean, even I know because we're discussing internally, like, can we just drop it? Why are we even on there? Because engagement is terrible unless you pay them for engagement. Unless you buy like the blue check mark, you get nothing. So I my thinking is companies should just drop it. Like they think they're getting something out of it, and it's actually, if they were to spend their time investigating, they're really not. And and the developers that are still there, God, I'm not trying not to judge anybody, but at the same time, it's like, what will it take? How many Nazis does it take for you to drop X? I don't know. It's like the ancient commercial with the owl that was like one link, two link to get to the center. How many Nazis does it take?
Follow-up question really quick before Erin, I'm cutting you off, I know, but follow-up question because this will be for Erin too. If not X, then where?
It's honestly okay. Where you can still reach developers. Weirdly, LinkedIn has been better. Get a lot more in a lot. I mean, I'm not saying I love LinkedIn either, but LinkedIn has been much better for engagement than X has. Blue Sky is just it's great. I actually like Blue Sky a lot, but it's just as a company, you're like I can see how um, they're like, well, I have whatever many followers on X, and I got to go to Blue Sky and start from scratch. Um, so you know, uh, I say it's a combination of the two. Um, but I don't know. That's my feeling. Or YouTube, YouTube, yes, to a degree.
Erin, both questions to you.
All right. So I'm going to come in with a nuanced take. One, I put part of it under, this is the Erin hat on. Like, my personal opinion is there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. And that's like, it's just a crap world out there. And like, I personally am like, if you need to be on X and you are like, I need to put food on my table for my family, and you're like, the only job I can get is posting on X, like you do you, boo. I'm not going to judge what it takes to like put food on your table for your family. I have taken a Hank Green type approach. So for those of you who know who Hank Green is, author, kind of science educator, all that stuff. He has on his Twitter profile, and I will be calling it Twitter because it is, that he uses a platform to repost materials and cross-post. The company that I'm at does want to be on X, but is kind of in that process of like, what is the next foray for that? So we actually our most successful platform is LinkedIn. This is my challenge to all companies, that like all companies, I think, really need to think about this concept of what does it mean to be on social media anyway? Because I would argue you actually don't get as many leads from that platform as any platform as you think you do. Like, you might be getting awareness and you might be getting other benefits, but like, I don't have X on my phone. I turn off all my notifications on my phone most of the time. If you've ever texted me, Brian knows this and is like, why aren't you responding to my 72 messages? It's because I turn off my notifications and then I forget to turn them on again. Sorry, friends.
I always hit notify anyway. Just FYI.
Yeah,
if it's to you, hit notify anyway.
Yeah, notify anyway if you're trying to text me. I have currently 84 unread text messages. And that's just my texts, not including Signal and WhatsApp and Discord and other groups. Weirdly, I'm on top of my email right now. So don't ask how email gets done for me, but nothing else. That's a whole nother conversation. I think if you are truly caring about the developer community, and I say community in very vague terms, the larger ecosystem is probably a better word as a whole. That means that you're actually taking the time and building a real one-on-one relationship with someone. That's having a conversation, picking up the phone, telling someone, hey, I saw what you did, and that's a really cool freaking thing. That's more important regardless of platform. I do not care if you're doing it via courier pigeon or you're stopping people on the subway. Like, that's the work that matters, and that's the work that's going to convert. Case in point, we did a workshop or a hack night in New York from the AI with Block this last week. And that came because Rizal and I have always wanted to be doing work together more often. And we're finally both working in this AI space. So it's like, we're very complementary products. We're very complementary areas. It works well together. But that relationship was not formed on X or Twitter or LinkedIn or Courier Pigeon. That was formed by being people in a people first world. And that's what's going to matter in this next iteration. And that isn't a nice, pretty number that capitalism can put up in a bow and be like, we know this because Erin's coming in and she has these, like, no one's going to be like, I have 4 relationship points with Jenn and 7 with Brian. And like, there's no way to measure that. We've tried. And there's not like, we don't give points or credence to we've all been on a phone call for sales. Dude, I joined a sales call the other day because they were like, I need to hit a quota and I'll send you a gift card. And I was like, done, on. But like, that's not a real relationship. And I think that's the stuff, but that's not easily measurable. And that's not a number that we can put on.
I gotta just say that, you started this with, I have a very nuanced take. And I was like, whoa, you're not known for nuanced takes here on this show. And then you said your nuanced take was there's no ethical consumption in capitalism. Like, oh,
yeah, I guess, that's not really I guess like is it nuanced? Like that's not really nuanced, but like
I don't know that doesn't seem particularly nuanced to me, but that I'm not disagreeing, and just say like, okay.
Like,
that is an Erin nuanced take.
The Erin nuanced take is there's no one right answer, and you do what you got to do, boo. And like, do I go on X to retweet things begrudgingly? Do I roll my eyes at a lot of it? Yes. Honestly, I'll be honest. I'll out myself. I'm still on Facebook though, fam. Like, and the reason I'm on Facebook is 1, stand-up comedy. 2, do you know how great people watching is on your Facebook page when you're connected to people from rural Idaho? And
I know. Yes, agree.
I'll out myself on this. Here's the thing: if you go on Facebook, they don't have fact checking anymore, but you can still put people in Facebook jail. So when they post those hateful things, am I the internet vigilante reporting them all? Hell yes. This is what I do. I have Facebook on my phone and not X because I love the idea that I am like this little internet vigilante being like, you said something racist. I'm going to report that. And then I'm going to put it in like another group. It's terrible, but I hate how much I love it. I feel like vindicated.
I've been like, I will say like, maybe it's just part of my job's changed a little bit now. A lot of it's become leading the team instead of like actively being. I mean, I'm still out there doing stuff, and I do agree with your take, Erin, about relationships. I think that's been part of what I loved about doing this job since the beginning, even when social media got big. I mean, like I still maintain one-on-ones and stuff like that with a ton of random people throughout the community that we just once a month we just meet up, catch up, former coworkers, and all this other stuff. So, I think that there's no agenda from those conversations, but those conversations at some point or another end up resulting in something that's valuable to where I'm at the time, like to the company I'm at. So, like just being the kind of person who maintains those relationships, I think brings a lot of value. And you're not going to get that. I mean, yes, there are people I met via social media that eventually became in-person friends, but but you're not going to get that purely over social media either. But I've been off Facebook since 2016. I got off Instagram this year. I'm just getting old, I guess. I mean, I'm old and grumpy, but I'm off. But I'm consistently on Blue Sky. I've done more Reddit lately. Funny enough, Reddit's not as bad.
I love Reddit.
I love Reddit too.
I'm on there too much.
I really appreciate your perspectives. It's interesting for me because I honestly built my DevRel career with social media. Like the only way I met people on social media. I met Erin through social media. I was too scared to message her because I thought she was really, really cool. And I think I sent one message and then somebody like a week later introduced us. But
now
that's also, yes. But that's also how like,
I am not cool. It is not a facade. You just found out I'm just a giant weirdo.
But I like your weirdo. But it's also something that I think does lead to what Erin said about the relationships, because it was something like I had a one-on-one call with Anthony Campolo, and he's somebody that introduced me to Nick. Nick, I still want to call you Nikki T, no matter what. I know it's Nick YouTube online, but still, I really, really want to do Nikki. Anyway, it's something that I think it's a balance of it, but something I've seen most successful, even if companies want to stay on X, is that one-on-one engagement that can lead to offline conversations. And that is something that I think will build stronger relationships, is even if you're starting on social media, making sure that you are open to taking it off of social media.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, so yeah, I I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it shifts because I do see more companies pulling off of X. It seems like every day learn of another company. It's like, yeah, we decided this just isn't for us. Um, I think just it's going to be interesting to see where that conversation shifts to because a lot of it did shift my experience to LinkedIn, but like it also LinkedIn now is also full of LinkedIn has its own LinkedIn spam kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
it's the
Be right back.
uh
Would you like to know about my 10 top tips that I learned from this walk I took around my neighborhood in the block? Read my free post here. But you can only get this free post if you put Erin is the coolest forever. In all
yeah.
caps, triple exclamation point. Oh, no, there's 2 exclamation points, not 3. My automatically bot generated blah 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 won't pick it up. You're saying that's not
Yeah.
authentic, right?
No, it's not authentic. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's like, oh, what I learned about business from proposing to my wife. It's like, oh my God, come on. They turn every like personal interaction is turned to something business transaction. It's like
I
kind of gold.
straight up put when we got engaged, I put that on LinkedIn because I was so
But
excited.
what did you learn about DevRel when you were
Nothing. I just
proposed?
really wanted to share that we got
Okay, but then it's
engaged.
not LinkedIn. It's not good LinkedIn material unless you learn business lessons from that.
So there's a slight little anecdote here that I've been really loving, and I'm sorry, Dad, if you watch this show ever, but I don't think you do because you're very offline. My dad is retired, went back to work. He now works at Stan Tech, but he's getting pushed. He's like, my people on the my social media team wants me to post as like a VP working on stuff. So he posts on LinkedIn, but it's like very clearly copy pasted from like whatever his social media person sent him, and like it'll pop up in my feed because they promote it every so often. And I'll be like, thanks for the pro tips, Dad. And then he'll be like, Erin, people are saying that they see my daughter commenting, but I can't find the notification. It's very
That's
cute.
so cute.
It's so cute, but I'm very much like, I'm super excited to learn about wastewater, like whatever. He works in civil engineering. And I'm like, thanks, Dad. Tell me about your crappy water situation here. A lot of poop jokes go into it when your dad works in wastewater. And he's like, please stop my child trolling him on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, that's part of their social media strategy. They're just they're like, oh, his daughter's an influencer. If we get him to post.
She'll read it. I have quote tweeted and be like, my dad's doing cool stuff that I don't understand. And he's like, he had Twitter for a while, but that he like deleted Twitter when it got really annoying. But it was Twitter, and he made a fake name because he's like, I don't want people to find out about me. But then he connected his phone to his account like years ago. So he'd be like, why do people keep finding me? Just want to retweet grilling and baseball stats. Like that's his Twitter. It's very interesting.
I'm gonna have to find your dad on social media. Be like, Aaron sent me to learn about wastewater.
Wastewater, renewable water things, bridges.
Can you link his LinkedIn so we can all go follow him?
No.
So we can
stop
give him
talking
more
to you, I think, Aaron.
notifications.
He's gonna
He'd
be
be
like,
like-
what the hell are you going on right now?
All right.
Turn off. It's so funny the things he asks though. I'm like, I love you, Dad, but like you're such a goofball. And he's like, just can't. So the dude does Calc 3 and teaches mathematics on the side for fun, but then it's like social media is so overwhelming, and I'm like, it's sad.
Yeah. The crazy part is, you're talking about and your dad's probably not that much older than me.
He's in his 60s.
All right. A little bit
I
older.
was. I mean, they're their 30s, so
Oh, okay. All right.
they had a while. They waited some sweet time before having.
I was like, my mom is 73. So,
Really?
yeah. And I'm an only child. So she waited a while.
Hmm.
But she's the opposite on social media. She is like crushing the Facebook game. Like she started using Thrive Life. It's freeze-dried food. And so she's been promoting it and selling it. She started her own newsletter. And I'm just like so impressed because I'm like, Mom, you're doing better on social media than I do.
Hmm.
Like
Oh, that's
I'm
so funny.
I'm always like, "Here, go mom. Let's see it happen."
So
Meanwhile,
she passed down her talents, is what she
yeah,
said.
she passed down her talents. Meanwhile, my mom is like, I like Instagram because I can just subscribe to dog accounts. And I don't have to deal with people bickering about stupid stuff when they're clearly wrong.
Yes. How
And
do
my
you two
mom's
feel
Instagram.
about TikTok?
Never
She
been
hasn't
on
been
it.
on that.
Never had an account. I never even installed it on my phone.
Okay.
Not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I create YouTube shorts. I don't watch them. So
Fair enough.
like
Fair
mine
enough.
or anybody else's. It's just yeah. Although I will catch them when they're on the like some people post them on Reddit. I'll be like, oh, I'll watch these. That's about it.
I like my YouTube shorts are only recaps of TV shows. Like I've watched so much House from YouTube shorts. But that's all I use YouTube for. I use each platform for a different consumption,
I think
which
that
is a
makes
lot of fun.
sense. Yeah, I think they each have their. I mean, YouTube. We push this out to YouTube, and I mean, there's lots of things to like about YouTube, and that's it. Like, it's actually from a live streaming standpoint, it's a great platform in the sense of it always works. I've never had a problem with YouTube. And it works really well. But like YouTube, from a subscriber standpoint and a live, like it doesn't promote live stuff well at all.
Mhm.
Your subscribers are ultimately like, I'm going to say this like, I mean, because we don't really have much in the way of sponsors anyway on CFE anymore. Nobody can get sponsors nowadays, it seems. But
That's
so
a call. If you're wanting to sponsor us, you probably should. We are very talented, impressive
yes,
individuals.
sorry, I will take it all
Like
back.
Warp.
No, but
Hey Warp, sponsor them. They're cool.
so we're now over like 100,000 subscribers, which is not huge, but it's decent. But we get like slightly more actual people watching our stuff than we did back in when I had just a couple thousand. So
Mhm.
like the subscribers aren't. It's a vanity metric. It's not really worth a lot. They don't show up to anything for the most part. Sorry if you're a subscriber and you're here. I don't mean you. I mean everybody else. The other 999,000, or no, sorry, 900,000, whatever. I can't do math. Sorry, math failed. But um, you know, anyway, the point being, it's good for certain things. It's not even necessarily great for the things I use it for like live streaming stuff, um, but Twitch is also hard as well. I mean, Twitch does think it's great for that. If you built an audience, building an audience on Twitch is super difficult. So for dev stuff, that's my take. And I'm right. Yeah. Right, Aaron? I'm kidding. I don't. That's just my hot takes. All right. So we are hitting the hour, and we have to leave time for the most important part of the show, as regular viewers know. This is what you've been waiting for. You sit through 50 some odd minutes of DevRel stuff so that we can get to the pickles. Aaron,
Again,
pickle
as
fact time.
Brian mentioned, we are the #1 podcast on YouTube at the intersection of DevRel and pickles and fermentation.
Yes.
So, like,
Right.
I know it's a very busy category, but we have #1. Move on, people. No competitors. Let's go. Anywho, all
Yeah,
jokes
You
aside,
need to get like a pickle sponsor. That's what we need.
today's pickle fact is sponsored by our dream sponsor, Boston Pickle Factory. Fun fact What is the pickle capital of the world?
The pickle capital of the world?
Anybody have an idea where it's at? Anybody? Crickets. Crickets. Crickets.
I'm surprised. Nobody knows. Nobody's
I
chiming
know,
in
this
the
is
comments.
like popular.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking Topeka, Kansas, but I feel like it's not it.
No, that is not it. I have been to Topeka. It's a very weird town. But in 1978, the Illinois state legislature proclaimed St. Charles, Illinois as the pickle capital of the world.
Of course, St. Charles.
Not
Yes.
one pickle produced there.
Oh.
The designation is purely because of the Pickle Packers International, a nonprofit focused on educating consumers about the benefits of pickles, was located there until it was disbanded in 2004. However, 35.
So it's still the pickle capital?
Yeah, it says it is pickle capital according to this public radio in Chicago, WGN Radio 720. It is still there, but Clawson Pickle Factory is 35 miles north of that location, where more than 300 people produce every single pickle that Clawson Pickles sells. And apparently it's now owned by Kraft Heinz. And it is like very interesting. And I guess they were like, they actually employed a large amount of people in Illinois at this time because previously it is now done by AI, again, keeping Erin in a job. But previously, before robots would sort pickles out, pickles for their process need to be similar sizes and shapes. They would have manual people sorting pickles all day in Illinois. It is 10 days from the pickle picked to the pickle being packed, or the cucumber being picked to the pickle being packed.
Can you two please go do a tour of the factory and have that be a live stream?
Yeah, we're
I'm
going to go meet
on a
in
pickle tour.
Yes, I think we need to do that. Well, maybe there's somewhere closer because like I'll be in Boston soon, and then you're in New York. There's somewhere we can put,
I think we had
Nick
a
said,
fact
there's
a
some
while
pickle
back.
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania was like a recent fact that we had of there's a pickle historical type, like a pickle historical thing you can walk in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Anywho, if
Is
you want
it
to sponsor
Pickle
us,
Pennsylvania?
there should
That
be a
Nick
pickle.
said.
I don't
There
think
should be.
pickle Pennsylvania exists. I think Nick made this up because remember he's an AI. He said earlier going all the way
robots.
back to the beginning. Yeah, he's just
okay.
hallucinating.
It's just hallucination.
So-
He's not using any type of evaluation or observability. Again, keeping
Oh,
me employed, everybody.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun as always. Thanks, Jenn, for joining us on this show. And thanks, Erin, for always keeping the conversation super interesting. And thanks to everybody in the audience for joining us. We will be back as we plan this very, very diligently. So we have secret plans of exactly when we'll be back. We're just not sharing them publicly yet. So yeah, we will be back sometime next month, this month. I don't know, sometime. All right, bye all.
Later.
Now the awkward clicking the stream.